Welcome. You're listening to the 365 Firsts podcast, a show filled with stories of experiencing first times and all the fun, growth, unknowns, and excitement that go with them. It's also the place to get expert advice, motivation, and inspiration to get in on trying new things. And now, here's your host, the master of first times, and chick you're trying to keep up with, Ann Bernard.
Yes, indeed. I am the chick you want to keep up with and the voice you want in your head, because I am the voice that tells you you can. Welcome to another episode of the 365 First podcast and Expert Advice Before Your First Time series. I am your host, Ann Bernard. I'm so excited about today's show and guests because it's going to take me down the memory lane to a city I love and an amazing time of my life when I lived in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for many things. Its delicious Creole food, its place in history for the blues and jazz, and its continued celebration of music, its gorgeous and unique French Quarter, and of course, its plethora of festivals, of which none is more famous than, you guessed it, Mardi Gras, which is our topic of today's show. My guest expert to give you advice before your first time attending Mardi Gras is Bobbi Mannino. She is the Public Relations Director for MardiGrasNewOrleans.com, your catch-all source for everything Carnival. She is a fifth-generation local New Orleanian with 45 years experience working in the New Orleans tourism industry. Bobbi has helped locals and tourists coming to New Orleans get the most out of Mardi Gras for decades. Her advice has been featured in major outlets around the world. It's an absolute honor to have her on the show. Welcome to the show, Bobbi.
Well, thank you, Ann. Happy Mardi Gras.
Hey, yeah, I am so excited, and I wish I was in New Orleans right now to partake in the festivities. I do miss it. Let's get started by going down your memory lane a little bit, and can you share with us some of your first memories of Mardi Gras?
Absolutely. We'll touch on this a little bit later, but Mardi Gras is really a family event. My early memories, every year, my mom would make costumes for all six of us. And we would go down in the French Quarter and walk around with all of us either dressed like clowns or French artists or you name it. And we Swiss Alps people, I just remember all the cowboys and things like that. Indians too, it was just fun. And that's a big memory. And of course, if you have a whole family walking around, everybody wants to take your picture. And of course, we would pack food for the day. And it was just the greatest time that in a child's life because you had the day off and everybody else in the world, it was just Tuesday. And for us, it was Mardi Gras.
Oh, wow. I can only imagine how incredible that must have been in those memories of your childhood from it. Wow.
Absolutely.
Let's give people, I think most of our listeners are probably familiar with Mardi Gras, but for those who are not, let's give them a little bit of a history of what Mardi Gras is all about.
Okay, perfect. First of all, I answer a lot of questions that come through. So most people that I get a question as to when is Mardi Gras, because they assume that Mardi Gras Day, Fat Tuesday, is the beginning of the Mardi Gras season. And in fact, it's not. It's the final day of the festivities. The season begins on January the 6th every year, which is King's Day or the Feast of the Epiphany, the 12th night, 12 days after Christmas. It starts on January 6th, and we even have parades that roll on January 6th. And then throughout the whole season, the carnival organizations are having balls and the king's coronation of their parade, and all sorts of festivities are taking place leading up to the parades that technically start. Well, it used to be that they started 2 weekends before, and then it became 3 weekends before, and this year it's been 4 weekends before. So we've had 2 weekends already of some parades. But the one coming up next, which is 2 weekends before Fat Tuesday, there'll be a good 15 parades that weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then, of course, it then leads up to the big weekend prior to Fat Tuesday. And another thing about, say, the makeup of understanding what Mardi Gras is all about, it really is a season. It's not a day. There is Mardi Gras Day, and that's the final day, but it's a season. And also the fact that a lot of people think it's produced by the cities, the governments of each of the parishes. In Louisiana, we have parishes, of the governments put it on. And truthfully, that's not correct. It's individual private organizations that produce their own parades, and they pay for it. Their members put up dues and they pay for everything. And it's the cities who coordinate the schedules of the parades, have the police for security, and have the sanitation ready for after the parade. That's just a quick abbreviation of what you need to know ahead of time. Another big question is someone just saying, I have no idea what I'm coming to. Tell me about it. And it's like, that's a loaded question.
Having lived in New Orleans, I lived in New Orleans for 5 years, and I love the fact that after New Year's Day, everything stops around the world. But in New Orleans, the city just starts transforming. So yes, the decoration of Christmas go away, and then all these new decorations come up in the city, and it's just you're prepping. You really don't get a break. Like the king cakes start coming out.
You can't go on a diet. You can't go on a diet.
Absolutely not. And then you're prepping you're entering into the festival and the carnival season. And there's really no, like you were saying, going to New Orleans only on Mardi Gras Day or for Mardi Gras, you're missing out because the city for a good almost 30 days is in celebration mode, and you will get to experience the parades and a lot of it. I mean, I absolutely love that because you didn't get the blues of, Christmas is over. You're going to Mardi Gras season. And you're bring it. Yes, this is an awesome time.
And like you said in the beginning, and that kind of kicks off the whole spring of one festival after another. So,
yeah, that's the other amazing thing. There's always something right back around the corner in New Orleans.
Exactly.
Such an amazing place to live. Now, you hinted a little bit about how it is the organization, the crews, that really put on Mardi Gras and pay for Mardi Gras. Can you tell us the history of the crews and what is a crew? What are the biggest crews in the city?
Right. Well, the history of Mardi Gras really stems back to medieval Europe. It always did tie into the season just before Lent. Okay, Lent is Ash Wednesday, begins the season of Lent. So even through medieval times, and in Rome and Venice, and then it went into Paris, in France, I should say, in France, 300 years ago when the French came in and discovered the area around New Orleans. That's how the tradition was continued on into what we know now as, what became New Orleans and the United States. Anyway, goes back technically 300 years of having the celebration. Now, the actual parades, the first actual parade didn't happen until like the mid 1800s, but the organizations became, each one of those carnival organizations became the crew of, and then there was Comus, I think was the very, very first one. And there's some other older organizations that still parade today that go back that far, like the crew of Momus and the crew of Rex. Okay, that's on Mardi Gras Day itself. Today, from our website, you'll see 70 different parades that each have its own crew. And there's also other crews out there that do everything the other organizations do except have a parade. So they still celebrate the mystique of having a king and a queen and the dukes and the maids and have a ball. And it's a deep tradition of being involved in a carnival organization. But some parade and some don't parade. But most of them do have a parade, and that's what their members enjoy. And then they buy all of their own beads and trinkets to throw out, because the theme is it's like going back in the days of royalty, and you have your king or your queen, and the people who are riding the floats are throwing trinkets out to the town folk. I'm not going to say the peasants, but it's the town folk. Yeah. All right. So it's that theme, and the riders have to wear masks. They never show their face. It's just a tradition. And growing up here in New Orleans, it's part of your life.
Yeah.
It's like you measure things by, is it before Mardi Gras, after Mardi Gras? It's that sort of thing.
Now, you also have the Mardi Gras Indians, correct?
Yes, that's another big tradition. And I get so many questions about the Indians. And unfortunately, there's only twice in any given year that the Indians will make an appearance. And Mardi Gras Day morning, the morning of Mardi Gras, is one of the 2 times they display all their gorgeous, elaborate costumes that are either hand beaded or all the gorgeous feathers. And there's a number of tribes or several generations old, and it gets passed down to the youth. And they learn it, and they learn how to make the beautiful beaded costumes. And there's not really, what's difficult to explain to a visitor is on Mardi Gras morning, the general vicinity of where they will be, but it's all secret. It's like there's no set route. There's no set time. You just kind of have to be, if you're in tune to that's what I want to find, you just have to be kind of just ready. And sometimes if you call the New Orleans Police Department, they might give you a hint as to where they're sending their security. But it's really amazing. And I would say there's probably, in this day, there's probably at least a dozen or so tribes that are active and participate in the Mardi Gras festivities. But the other thing is, the other day, just for everybody's information, is a day called Super Sunday for them. On the site, there's an entire whole section that goes into all the history and the meanings and the various terminologies of like Big Chief or this one or that one. But the Super Sunday is another day that they celebrate, and it's always for one group of them, it's always the 3rd Sunday of March. In most of the time, it's around St. Joseph's Day. They kind of make that reference as well, which is March 19th. This year, Super Sunday for the Uptown group is March 15th because that's the Sunday. The other thing about it that I have to tell visitors is keep in mind that it's weather permitting, because they're not going to go out in the rain with those elaborate costumes. So they'll use the next Sunday as a postponed day, the rain day.
That's what I love about New Orleans. It is so, so rich in tradition. You just don't get that in many places anymore.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
It's very, very unique and very special. And that's why most people, once they're here, they don't want to leave.
It was tough to leave when I had to leave, and I definitely want to visit more often. It is a place that has my heart. Okay, so we've talked that you can come on Mardi Gras Day. Ideally, you want to get there earlier, but even if you come a few weeks earlier, you're still going to get to enjoy it. And when you do, things might be a little bit less expensive to do that, because part of that is figuring out where to stay. So recommendations on picking the hotel and where are the best places to stay?
Well, there's a set route to any given parade. And many of the downtown New Orleans, many of the parades that parade in New Orleans parade down the very same route. St. Charles Avenue, all the way to Canal Street. There are probably at least 50 hotels, at least, that are either on the route or within a 2-block walk from that route. You have a huge selection of hotels to use. But the reason for that, it's the parades can go on for all day long. Having a hotel that is nearby, it gives you a place to use the restroom, number one. Also, just to go back, rest up a minute, get rejuvenated, wash your hands, put some water in your face and say, okay, I'm ready. Let's go out for some more. And plus, in between, you're hauling back all the stuff you just caught, and you need to store it in your hotel room. So as far as best recommendations, all of the national flags, the Marriotts, the Hiltons, the Intercontinental hotels, Sheratons, things like that, they're all on the parade route. They all have a location or a property that's on the parade route.
And what can people, because you're mentioning the parade route, let's talk a little bit more about that. What
Right.
can people expect to see on the parade route? Because the locals know how to do it. So if you're coming into the town and you don't know what to do, what to expect, one, what can they expect to see? And two, how can they best be prepared to maximize what they get out of watching the parades?
Okay. Well, first of all, I think it's important right now to talk about what they should bring to the parade. Okay. Because you need to be prepared and you're going to do a lot of walking and standing. You really should wear the most comfortable shoes that you absolutely have, whether it's tennis shoes or whatever, something that's broken in. I highly do not recommend sandals just because parades create a lot of litter, and if it should start raining, it gets messy and all that stuff. So I highly recommend comfortable shoes. Also, you want to be able to bring things like bottled water and snacks because you just might not easily have that accessible to go by. Even though the whole city closes down for Mardi Gras and the parades, obviously the restaurants and drugstores don't. But I mean, as far as for Mardi Gras Day itself, it's a holiday and businesses are closed. You also want to bring hand sanitizer and things like that because if you're not lucky enough to have a hotel that's right nearby, you're going to have to use the porta potty. And so you want to have that. And then sunscreen too, because you're outside all day. And wear layers of clothing because you can always take it off. Always take it off. I mean, this morning it's 57 degrees cold. And from living here, in the 50s, it's cold here because it's damp. It's very damp and the cold just goes right through you. But it could also be 80 degrees. You just never know. So wear layers of clothing. And I might as well just finish these thoughts. You're going to be grabbing for beads and be tempted to pick something up that fell on the ground because it's that cute little stuffed animal or something. Leave your expensive jewelry at home. Don't bring it because it's too risky to lose it. And why take the chance? I think that's it as far as like things to bring, except that last one. And I talked about carrying your stuff that you catch back to your hotel room. Bring a bag to put all your stuff in. And even if you're using a pillowcase, an old pillowcase, and that's a sack, something light to carry there, but useful to carry back with you. Then as far as what else you're going to expect when you go to the parade route, you're going to expect to be behind barricades. You can expect to be anywhere between, there's probably anywhere from 5 to 10 rows deep of people in the crowd. The earlier you get to the parade route, the better it will be to have a front row seat or spot, I should say. And I think some of the things you're going to enjoy most is the people who camp out in their area at a parade, and they've come prepared with their ice chest and their barbecue pit sometimes. They bring in a big boom box of some sort, so they're playing Mardi Gras music. It just gets everyone in the area just ready, and they're just, they're just ready for it.
Yeah, it's a very festive environment. I think if you've never experienced it, maybe you can compare it to like a tailgating party. People are just barbecuing, listening to music, and they're talking to each other. And that's the other thing about New Orleans. Very friendly community.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a type of place that you still have front porches and people stand there and people walking by, they strike up conversations.
Exactly. And I would encourage the visitors to work their way down St. Charles Avenue and see the families that are gathered. It's like family reunions. Some extended families, they see each other every Mardi Gras because they know they're going to be standing on this certain corner, and everybody brings their food and everybody shares that family. They're all together. And do you remember the ladders?
Mm-hmm,
yeah. The kids, they put ladders for the little kids. Sometimes I might say that funny, but it's ladders. They just, you think of a ladder and they put a seat on top of it. There's a box seat. And the little kids go and sit in the seat, and the mom and dad is standing behind them on the ladder behind them. And the other one is on the ground catching all the things that the riders on the floats are throwing to the kids. And the other parent is catching everything that falls. It's just so much fun. And on Mardi Gras Day in particular, that's when you see all the costumes. It's just like, it's the greatest all-day picnic you can possibly imagine. And you're with friends and you meet new friends.
Yeah, absolutely. So the place to be is not on Bourbon Street. Let's just,
Certainly,
for certain people, okay, perhaps, but after the parades, you might want to wander there. But if you want to get beads and you want to get trinkets and you want to get different things, go on the parade routes.
Exactly.
And things will come flying at you. So do be careful about that, because things do come flying at you.
Right.
And it's incredible, because the other thing is on St. Charles Avenue, or, on the main parade routes, you turn around and the trees are decorated with beads and
right.
Throughout, before Mardi Gras, some visitors might wonder, how did the beads get up there? But during Mardi Gras,
because the riders on the floats are just throwing them by the dozens.
Throwing, exactly.
Throwing them. I know.
And
it's
now
amazing.
Some crews had specialized trinkets that you want to get your hands on, that are collectible items.
Oh, they're cherished. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like Zulu, on Mardi Gras Day, Zulu prepares thousands and thousands and thousands of decorated coconuts. You're really special if you leave the Zulu parade having gotten your own personal coconut. Now, they're heavy, so they don't throw them. They usually hand them to people, or they might even hand them to a police officer and say, I want you to give it to that little lady there in her little wheelchair there, or whatever. That's a cherished one. But now there's so many crews, I should say, that have specialty items. Like the Crew of Muses decorates shoes in glitter and beads and things. And again, so you want to leave with a decorated shoe. The Crew of Nyx does purses. There's another one that's the Crew of Ferret that's has a satire. They decorate toilet brushes. So everyone has like a little theme, and it's really special. And if you're on Mardi Gras Day, the Crew of Rex, most of the parades still throw doubloons, the little coins. They're just trinkets, they're not valuable, but you feel special if you walk away with a doubloon that is souvenir of that particular parade that you just watched.
Oh yeah.
Some people have a collection of them,
Absolutely. I mean, you will get bags and bags of things. Now, as people are listening and are like, wait a second, I would love to be able to be on a float, part of a crew. Is that something that is possible for a visitor?
Yes, actually it is. I mean, there's some exceptions. There's some crews that are just don't have openings, because if someone can't do it this year, then it get passed on to a family member or something like that. And then there's some crews that are all men, and there's some crews that are just women, and then there's other crews that are both co-ed. So you can't just say I only want to be in the Crew of Endymion and that's it. Well, you're not going to get into that one. But there are a lot of them that do like to fill in open spaces, and it can be a one-time special opportunity to be a temporary member, let's just say. But the cost to be in it would include not only your space on the float and all the insurances and all that stuff that go with that, but it would also include your costume, and it would also include being where you meet that day before the parade, and there's probably like a meal. Then it would also include
the beads,
yes, minimum amount of beads. It's like a certain amount allocated to every member that has the logo of that organization on it. However, you would run out of that very quickly. So there's many places around town where you have the opportunity to buy beads at a variety of prices. You can get them real cheap, or you can get real elaborate ones. It's not unusual for a crew member to get 200 gross of beads for a parade.
Yeah. I believe it. They throw out a lot of beads. Now, who do they contact? What's the contact point to get
on the parade? Okay. You just write to MardiGrasNewOrleans.com. You go on New Orleans, that website, and you just hit contact. And basically, it's going to come to me, and I'm going to forward your request to all of our contacts with all the crews. It's that simple. It really is. And it may mean that the day that one crew is available, it might mean you have to alter the time you're going to travel. But so that's why if you're going to write, be specific and say, I'm only going to be in town for these number of days, and then I'll only send them to those crews.
Yeah. Now, something else that someone can purchase to enhance their experience is a spot in a grandstand. So we've talked about the route and you can stand, but there's also grandstands at different locations. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how to get access to those?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You see, local people know to bring their lawn chairs and bring stuff to sit back and relax. Well, if you're a visitor here, that's a little bit difficult to bring chairs with you. There are a number of grandstands on the route, which is like stadium seating, bleachers, but they're nice. And on the website, on MardiGrasNewOrleans.com, under shop, under the tab of shop, there is a link to the company that actually sells parade tickets. Even though it's free to go to a parade, it's just not free to go sit in the grandstand. But I highly, highly recommend that, to do that at least for one parade, because it could get costly to do it for every parade. But at least for one parade, have that experience, because you're getting a fabulous view. You're able to sit down, unless you want to stand up to catch every time the float passes, to really get a good angle on catching those great big pearls. And also the grandstands come with their own portable potty, and that way that is at least accessible only to the people in the grandstand. So it's probably really going to be maintained and be a little bit more approachable.
All right. A lot of the beads are either purple, green, or gold. What are the colors all about?
Well, that goes back to the crew of Rex when they first paraded, 1892. And they came up with this, that was part of their theme. And purple stood for justice. Green stood for faith, because we have a big Catholic community, Christian community here. And gold stands for power, because, again, the power of the royal crew. Okay. That was such a big part of Mardi Gras Day, was the purple, green, and gold beads, that over the years, that just became the Mardi Gras colors. And to this day, you still want to catch that special purple, green, and gold bead that the crew of Rex throws out.
Now, something else that is very Mardi Gras, and I mentioned earlier that if you're going to New Orleans for Mardi Gras, that you have to try is king cake.
Oh,
what? Oh, that is so yummy and delicious.
Oh, and it's just taken off to be so many different selections and so many decadent king cakes. It's not just dry coffee cake. It's stuffed with all sorts of chantilly cream and Bavarian cream or cream cheese or fruits and stuff. So it's taken its own direction.
Life of its own.
Of its own, yeah. And the thing about king cakes is it actually starts, the first king cake that everybody gets is on January 6th, okay? Because that's King's Day. And do you remember the baby?
I do remember the baby. Yep.
Okay.
That's your turn to buy.
For people who live here and you're living through the entire season and you work in an office, the king cakes, some brave soul buys the first one, and it's on January 6th. And then whoever gets the baby, and it's a little plastic baby that it's not baked in it. You actually, before you slice it, you stick it underneath one of the pieces, and then you slice, and whoever gets the baby has to buy the king cake for the next Friday office king cake party.
And this is why you do not go on a diet after.
You can't. You just can't.
It's impossible.
This past Saturday, I had 2 king cake parties to go to. The one at lunch had 16 different varieties. And the one at 6:30 had another 10 different varieties. You just can't, I mean, I couldn't even attempt to try them all.
I have to say, I'm probably more of a traditionalist with the king cake, but it is yummy and well worth having. Okay, what are we looking at? How many people attended Mardi Gras last year? Like, how popular is Mardi Gras for New Orleans?
Well, because it's a free event, there's no admission, there's no tickets, etc. New Orleans determines the crowds based on the amount of trash that is picked up each year, the tonnage of trash. The estimated number of people that are out on any given parade, and especially Mardi Gras Day, but is about 1.5 million people come out to a parade. And that's 1.5 million of our family and friends. It's just so much fun.
It is incredible how New Orleans under, in those festivals, special conditions, just triple, quadruples in size. It's a lot of people from Louisiana, outside of Louisiana, coming to the city to celebrate, in those festivals and partake in it. And then on top of that, obviously you have all the tourists that also come in.
It's not just the hotels are filled. It's all your family and friends that say, "Hey, can I hang out at your house for a couple of days?" It's Mardi Gras.
Yep. Well, I love Mardi Gras. I lived in the French Quarter for a couple of years.
Oh.
And I have to say, during Mardi Gras, and obviously the whole 30 days of it does get very complicated to get in and out of your home and try to keep your life normal. It's just, it's impossible. Everything closes down. So many people are there. And you just have to say, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to enjoy it, have a fabulous time, and I'll go back to whatever normal life I have after Mardi Gras is over.
It's hard to get work done, and especially that last weekend. It's a real special time.
Yeah, I agree. And while I was there, I was stationed with Marine Forces Reserves there. And obviously for that day, it closes down. So the rest of the Marine Corps is like, "Hey, where are you guys at?" "We're at Mardi Gras."
That's right.
Lots of jealousy about that. Now, we didn't talk a whole lot about it, but there is Bourbon Street. And some people are going to go check out Bourbon Street. So what can they expect? And is it going to close down?
Exactly. First of all, it is what it is. It is a component of Mardi Gras. And especially the college age, younger people may not even leave Bourbon Street. They might stay there the whole time, even though we really want them to appreciate what the whole event is about. But that's just one component. And it really is not a place for kids. So just don't do that. Sometimes it happens right around spring break, which is good and not good, if you know what I mean. What you do need to expect, because you really can't leave without maybe seeing it, especially if you're a first-time visitor. But it's going to be very, very crowded. And if you're with other people, you need to have some type of landmark where if we get lost, because the crowd just kind of moves you. You don't move through the crowds. The crowd moves you. And you just within a few minutes, you could actually be at the next corner. So if you get lost, just remember, okay, you see that sign there? That's where we're going to meet up again if we can't find each other. And the biggest thing that I always like to just make sure visitors understand that the majority of people on Bourbon Street are not local.
That's not where locals go.
That's not where locals want to go. They want to enjoy the parades and their tradition with all their cousins and aunts and uncles and best friends and etc. But there is that component, and it's wild and crazy. What can I say? You asked me, does Bourbon Street ever close? Well, there is one day of the entire year that Bourbon Street closes down, and it is at midnight on Fat Tuesday, and the mounted police on their horses, they make like a triangle or V, say, okay? And they just like move the crowd real slow. And they just say, "Good night, folks. It's time to go back home or back to your hotel room." Because if by then nobody is sober at that moment anyway. So it is time to go home. That is the only way they're going to get to clean the streets so that the next morning, when it's Ash Wednesday and a day to start repenting, it's pristine clean because the street washers have come through, and you would never know they had that major celebration the day before.
To see those mounted police do that, I have to say, it is the most, it's an amazing thing to watch.
It is. The police are very nice. You know,
they absolutely are.
But they don't show strong force there. They know you're having fun, but they're saying the party's over.
Well, you wouldn't mess with those horses, though. I mean,
they're giant. I know.
Gigantic horses.
They are.
We covered a lot. Thank you so much. Did we forget anything?
One of the things is it's not too early. It's too early right now to book for 2021, but it's not too early if you wait and right after Mardi Gras, and then that's when you'd want to book for the following year, because rooms do fill up. If they want to get on, if they would like to participate on a float, if they'd like to participate in the grandstands, if they would like to, they have various bars on Bourbon Street that actually sell
balcony
events.
Balcony
to
space
be on the balcony. That ticket price might seem a little high, but of course it includes all your food and your beverage for that 2-hour period of time and beads. It would be a great experience. And don't wait until the very end and then you have to kind of settle for what's available.
Very good insight and advice there.
Kind of frank about
plan
it.
Early, and get the most benefit out of it. Absolutely.
Oh, and one other thing, do bring a costume because you want to participate as in the revelry. So if you're dressed, you could be some fancy lawyer and you want to come here and wear a clown wig. Be somebody that you don't have to, you can be happy for the day and think about nothing but having and enjoying yourself.
Oh, excellent. Again, closing advice there. Now, how can people get in touch with you and get more information?
You can just, honestly, if you write to MardiGrasNewOrleans.com, I am personally going to get it. And I will write back to you all the time. It's a year-round popular site because people are doing their planning. But if not, you can write to BobbiMannino@gmail.com and I'll answer you that way too.
All right, Bobbi. Thank you so much.
We'll see you again. I know.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bobbi.
You're welcome, Anne. Anytime.
All right. Well, I hope you really enjoyed this episode. It was such a blast to have Bobbi on the show and reminisce about Mardi Gras. She provided such excellent insight and advice that if you ever find yourself heading to Mardi Gras for the first time and you properly plan and prepare per her advice, you're going to have a blast in the time of your life. Before I close out the show, I have a quick announcement to make. Every Wednesdays at 09 Pacific Standard Time, noon Eastern Standard Time, there is now a live Facebook First Time Stories time. So, if you are interested on sharing a first-time story, something that you've experienced since doing the 365 First Challenge, or just a first-time you experienced story from your lifetime, maybe it's a funny story, something that's truly impacted your life, and you would like to share it with others, then I want you to come on live Facebook and share it. So it will be in the 365 First Challenge group on Facebook. Message me on Facebook and let me know that you are interested to come on and share, and we'll make that happen. Now, as always, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the show. While you're there, leave a review. Until we meet again, get out there and have some first times and new experiences.
You've been listening to the 365 Firsts podcast. Hope you've gotten inspired to start your journey of first times and new experiences. Join the 365 Firsts Challenge by downloading the app at your local app store. Check out Next Level Firsts Coaching for additional assistance. Contact us if you want to share the stories of your latest firsts on the show. Now, go get busy having new experiences.